get involved in the Vietnamese basket trick and all those kind of things.
Oh, have you seen it? It's very good. It's a good trick.
It's a good trick?
Yeah.
Is pornography good or bad? What is pornography? You never answered the question.
The real problem is if you think the act of sex is degrading, you're going to think photos of the act of sex are degrading. And in your case, obviously, you think that sex is dirty and disgusting, and so you don't want to see photos of it. I think sex is exciting and wonderful, and those who want to see it, consenting adults should be allowed to.
In my case, I think sex is
I've
dirty.
heard
Have you been inside my bedroom?
Well,
I mean, I realize
it's a very boring. It's a very boring place.
Now, so that I don't paint myself as a square, all right, and I don't want to paint you as a square, obviously.
I would hope not.
No, God,
I read
you say someone who is afraid of sex thinks that everything is pornographic.
Well, why else would you think pornography is dirty unless somehow you've been traumatized by the sexual act or so hung up with religion that you somehow feel that hedonism and sexual explicitness is dirty and disgusting?
Well, here's what I find a little wild, all right? Now, you tell me if this is wild, all right? The girl being tied up to the bed, spread eagle to the end of the bedpost, all right? All right? To me, that is degrading to a woman, all right? That's saying that the guy who likes that, the guy who likes to have sex like that couldn't make it on his own, all right, if he has to tie the woman up, because he ain't going to get nothing, baby, unless he does.
I feel like Eichmann in Israel on trial.
I sometimes wonder if your attitude hasn't done as much damage.
I would hope it has, because if sexual emancipation engenders anti-Semitism, I really am not responsible for that. Page 6 of the Post, describe your bedroom. Now, all this razzle-dazzle, hurricane, and all this stuff, is this to make up for the lack of fireworks you supply?
No, describe my bathroom, all right? Describe my bathroom, pal, and if you want to join me in my bathroom, then you're sicker than I thought you were.
Is this an offer?
My bedroom is a very normal bedroom, all right? It's a queen-size bed, nice padded backboard, all right? Mirror on the ceiling, mirror on the floor, mirror on the... No, my bedroom is a very plain and simple bedroom where my wife and I can enjoy sex, and we do enjoy it, pal.
You really?
Oh, yeah.
With you?
Enjoy it. We don't have to use things like this. I'm sorry you feel your sex life is so abnormal that you have to have 3 people around you.
Where have I said that, Mort? I want to ask you something. Seriously, are you a good lover? Do you think you give your wife pleasure?
My wife thinks I am, and that's all I really care about.
Okay, good. It's nice. Very positive. Good. You see, I think that's something... That's something you should be proud about. No, I'm serious about it. I think it's wonderful. I mean, I was under the impression that you were sex negative, somehow filled with sin and damnation. No, if you're sex positive, I commend you for it.
Just for the sick stuff. I'm not, let me tell you something. When my little girl, well, I won't mention, when this little girl, all right, that I know was 5 years old, I was walking her by a newsstand. In that newsstand was a copy of your magazine, Screw. Mm-hmm. I'm sure you remember the issue where you had the blown-up picture of the woman's portion of the body, all right?
Not on the cover, Mort. We don't have any...
It was on the cover.
There's no obscenity on the front page, because I really feel an unwilling
You saved the obscenity for inside?
We are dirty inside, clean outside, unlike most media.
You're obscene on the inside.
Because that's what our readers want, is explicit sex, which I think of as a positive.
My little girl asked me what the picture was. I had to tell her...
You told her the facts of life.
I told her it was a butterfly. At 5 years old, I didn't tell her the facts of life, all right? Okay. 5 years old, I didn't tell her the facts of life.
Okay, but don't you agree that adults who want to get sexual material should be allowed to? Let's go back to your opening issue of pornography. By the way, I testified at the Meese Commission, and
they gave a lot of weight to what you said.
Well, they weren't listening, Mort. Their mind was closed. On the Meese Commission were prosecutors, were people with their minds closed. The 2 people who voted against the Meese Commission were women. So why and how can you sustain your hypothesis that pornography exploits women?
I think it exploits women.
I think it dignifies women.
When a woman is violently violated, all right, I think that's exploiting women.
Do you think a woman is exploited in the pages of Playboy or Penthouse? When she's spread wide? Tell me.
In Playboy, no, I don't, because they're not usually spread that way. In Penthouse, they have a tendency to... And look, if the girl wants to do that, that's up to her, all right?
That's the point.
That's up to her if she wants to do that.
Okay. Would you respect
I'm not
her
finding
right,
any
though?
fault with that. I find fault with the kind of stuff, Al, that you've really been involved with all your life.
Mort, I've never been involved with that S&M stuff. It represents 3% of what's in the pages of Screw. If you think cunnilingus and
Say,
fellatio...
I've never been involved with it, but it represents only 3%.
That's minor. That's minor. The majority of our stuff is if you think fellatio...
I've met 100 people. I only killed 3 of them, so that's minor for me. You say porno was not exploitive, all right?
I don't think
so. Well,
so.
next, all right, the unwilling victims of porno. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back with Al. Stand by. Welcome back, everybody. On stage with us tonight, now joining us is Norma Ramos. Norma, let me ask you to give our audience a little bit of your background, all right?
I serve as general counsel to an organization that has 10,000 members. It's called Women Against Pornography. And it is an organization that is devoted to ending the $8 to $10 billion a year traffic in women and children known as the pornography industry.
What is pornography to you? Can you define it?
Actually, what's interesting is that in the last few years, due to 2 very well-known feminists, Catherine McKinnon and Andrea Dworkin, they have defined pornography. They defined pornography because in working with this movement, we began to have to address the question of what is pornography? Is it in fact something that cannot be defined? And we realized that pornographers always know what to make. Those that want to sell it always know what to stock their shelves with. And those that want to buy it know exactly what to buy.
Know exactly what they're looking for.
Exactly.
And if they're looking for S&M, if they're looking for violence, whatever it is, they know what to look for.
No man has ever walked into an adult bookstore and has walked out with a copy of Shakespeare. They always walk out with pornography. Pornography is a 3-part definition.
All right.
Sexually explicit. In other words, it cannot be sexually suggestive like mainstream advertising or movies.
But if it is sexually explicit, does that in itself make it pornography?
No.
Okay. Number 2.
Second, it has to subordinate women. In other words, what is sexy in pornography is the inequality of women. So you have dominance and subordination. You have inequality.
All right. If it has item number 1 and item number 2, as you've defined, is it now pornography?
No.
Okay.
The third definition is that, depending on different versions, I am taking this from a law that the feminist anti-pornography movement supports, which is called the Dworkin-McKinnon Bill, which is the civil rights approach to pornography. In other words, it recognizes pornography as sex discrimination. The third element is it has to contain 1 or more of the following, or maybe 2 or more of the following elements. Women being presented as enjoying rape, women being mutilated or bound or tortured, women being penetrated by objects or animals, women being presented as objects who enjoy being displayed, women being in postures of civility or submission.
Morton, I pose a question.
Al Goldstein, loudmouth. Go ahead, Al.
You realize, of course, that the United States Supreme Court ruled that the so-called Minneapolis statute was unconstitutional. How would you address that?
I would say that it took this nation many, many, many years to address the inequality of black people. The Dred Scott decision over 100 years ago declared that black people had no rights, that a white person need respect.
1859.
Okay. 1954, Board of Education, Brown versus Board of Education. It took almost 100 years for this country to get that right. We are in this movement for the long haul. So if the Supreme Court didn't get it this time, then we have a lot of work to do. We are up against a $10 billion a year industry. This movement, as far as feminists in this movement, is only 7 years old. We have a lot of education to do.
Well, a lot of people are joining you. A lot of people who don't like the feminist movement, all right, I happen to be one of them, are joining you to fight this effort. Well, could you make a tasteful erotic film? Is that possible?
People have asked us, well, given the definition that you've given, could there be a such thing as erotica? We believe that yes, but in a social situation, in the political and social situation of this country, it is one where there is inequality of women. Women still earn 64 cents for every dollar a man earns, and for women of color, the disparity is greater. There is an epidemic of violence against women in this country. Every 18 seconds, a woman is battered. So the social conditions in this country will not produce erotica. They will produce, in fact, pornography.
But there is pornography out there. I mean, there is erotica out there. I mean, you take a look at some of the people, Candida Royale, all right? The types of films she makes are basically erotica. She doesn't tie up women. She doesn't have forceful rape upon them.
But she still does what most pornography does, which is it reduces women to their body parts. She may say she's attempting to make erotica, but what she is in fact doing is it's the same elements.
But it reduces the, wait a second now, reduces the men to the body parts, too. We're going to meet one of those body parts in just a second here. I see. Well, let me hear what Al has to say first. Al, you go ahead.
I don't think
Can't get over the weight you've lost. Obviously, you had some bad sex, pal, and it's reacting on it.
Okay, the question for the feminists is that this is not feminist against pornography. There are many women who love sex who are feminists. Betty Friedan, who wrote The Feminine Mystique in the New York Times Magazine section, said, quit picking on pornography. It's not the issue. The issue is the bad pay women get. Putting it on the doorstep of pornography is absurd. Rape existed. Rape existed before porn.
Is that the only issue?
Being in the feminist anti-pornography movement means that we are, by definition, working against violence against women. That is a critical issue for women in this country.
All right.
It also is, we see pornography as a system of prostitution, and we define prostitution to be any system by which women and children's bodies are sold for the purposes of sexual use and or abuse. That includes live sex shows, that includes street prostitution, that includes pornography. We are essentially against the buying and selling of human beings. In this society, we're talking about women because that is who is not equal.
Let me give you a fact on pornography before we take a break here. According to the Meese report, at least 50% of all pornographic-related revenues are controlled by organized crime. 90% of all hardcore porn is mob control, production, distribution, etc. In case you want to check that out, Al, it's on page 1049 of the Meese report. Pardon me?
May I address the mafia?
When we come back, you've heard about the issues, my friend. Now we're going to get a chance to meet some of the porno stars. Next on the Morton Downey Jr. Show. Hail, hail, the gang's all here. My God. Here we've got Al Goldstein, the godfather of pornography. On stage with us now, I want you to meet some porno stars. Let me introduce you to Ron Jeremy, who's a pornography actor. And I believe you are Alexis Firestone. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right, good. Let's go, and I'll ask these questions of both of you folks, all right? Alexis, how did you get your first job in pornography?
Well, I posed for a magazine.
Posed for a magazine?
Posed for a magazine, and was quite...
A well-known magazine?
Yeah, it was pretty well-known. Out of magazine.
Pay anything?
Yes.
Good money?
Yes, pretty well. And then I went from there.
How old were you when you posed for it?
I was 26.
26? Mm-hmm. So you haven't been in this very long because you still look like a young person.
Just 1 year old.
You
one
just
year
been in
over.
this for 1 year?
1 year over.
Ron, how'd you get your first job in porn?
Well, I was doing plays off-Broadway, and I did a thing in Playgirl magazine in 1979. And then director approached me if I wanted to do it. At first I said no. I saw the job market for most of the actors in New York. It's pretty tough. And so this is an industry that wanted me to come in, so I gave it a shot. And I figured I could use that to make the break into regular films, which eventually it did.
So somebody approached you. Did somebody approach you, Alexis, or did you approach the job?
I approached the job myself.
So you knew what you wanted right from the beginning?
Absolutely.
All right, let me ask you a second question. If you could do it all over again, would you do it the same way?
I certainly would.
Are you happy?
I am very happy.
Are you?
Yes.
We're going to ask you about some of the films that you've made and some of the situations. How many films have you made, incidentally?
I would say maybe about 30.
About 30. It only takes in
Not counting,
one
excuse
in
me,
one
not,
year.
Not counting R-rated, R-rated.
In 1 year, you've made 30 films.
Something like that.
Must really.
I'm
This
not
must
counting
really be in-depth acting, right? I mean, they couldn't even make 30 Starsky and Hutches in a year. But I bet you could make 30 Starsky and Hutches in a year, couldn't
Not
you?
too many people can do Deep Throat either.
Can do Deep Throat? Can you do Deep Throat? I didn't realize she was a political spy. I thought that was from the Nixon era. Huh? Would you do it all over again?
I can't follow that line. Yes, I would, yeah.
You would?
Yeah.
You're a teacher, aren't you?
I used to be a school teacher.
School teacher, and you still
What
have...
does it say, make noise? Okay.
You still have credentials to teach?
I also belong to the union. Adult films got me into the Screen Actors Guild eventually, because the same director got me into regular films, so it was a way to get to where I wanted to go.
If you had an 18-year-old child, would you want that 18-year-old child to appear in a porno film?
It's very hard to say, because it depends on why people get into the business. Some get into all sorts of various reasons. I can't answer that, because it depends.
Have you ever had sex with someone in a film who was under 18?
No.
Never?
Oh, wait a second.
What about Tracy Lords?
A girl named Tracy Lords used fake ID, fake passport, fake birth certificate, fake driver's license, fake DMV report from Los Angeles. So nobody knew how old she was, including the government. Everybody made a mistake, and she fooled us all. She's now a millionaire, while filmmakers are facing federal indictments of 10 years in jail.
Let me
So I think
ask
that's
you,
kind
if
of
you owned a
unfair.
bar and a kid 15 or 16 years old came into your bar, gave you false ID, and you served him a drink, would you still be in trouble?
According to federal law, I guess you're still guilty.
Yeah,
But incidentally, in Los Angeles,
you'd be
it
in
just came out in the paper that they probably can let those guys go. Right now, it's looking real good in the West Coast. Just came out yesterday, in fact. Because they know that Tracy Lords fooled everybody. It wasn't a conscientious move.
I feel sorry for those bartenders that have been nabbed and lost their licenses because they served drinks to a minor. But this is, according to Al Goldstein, I suppose this is a less
Can I ask you a question?
horrendous offense than that, isn't it, Al?
Morton?
Yeah, go ahead.
Does anybody here in the audience ever buy or rent adult videotapes? Do you want this man telling you what you can and cannot see in your own bedroom? No. Thank you.
Have I tried to tell any of you what you can see in your own bedroom?
Do you want to make... But that lady, Miss Ramos, is saying that adult films, do you want them to be illegal?
We believe in this movement is that we are looking at the social conditions under which women are being made to act in, so-called act in these films. What I believe in is that we can legally end the pornography industry, which, by the way, he correctly cited, is controlled by organized crime. I believe that if women truly had equality, women would not be exercising these so-called choices to be making these so-called films that you find entertaining.
Why do you always give up the example of women being tied to the bed, whereas there are actually more magazines showing men tied to the bed? Just something you ought to know. Secondly, I have been in 500 movies.
Incorrect.
That's correct.
She just talked about Deep Throat. People should know that there's a book called Ordeal where Linda Marciano talks about the circumstances under which Deep Throat was made. She was beaten, she was drugged, and she was raped at gunpoint to make the highest grossing pornography film
It's the same old trick. It's the same old trick, Ron, that the pimps use on whores, all right? It's the same trick.
I don't like the word
Beat them,
whores.
well, prostitutes, all right?
Because they're victims. They're damaged
How come
women.
Harry Ream said that's
victims.
a lot of garbage? He was in the film, too. She said, Linda Lovelace said that they put makeup on her face to cover the bruises. Harry Ream said there was no makeup artist on the set. I mean, Linda Lovelace's book is garbage.
That's
You
right.
understand? She was not beaten up.
That's right.
How much money do you
Slander
make
the
for one of those
victim.
films? How much money do you
Malign
make for
the
one of those?
victim.
How much money do you make to be on this show?
How much money do you make on one of those films?
It could be anywhere from $500 to $1,000.
Okay.
A couple days.
How much money do you make for a film?
Anywhere between 500 and 1,000 up and up.
And up.
That's
How
right.
how many times have you made up? I know you've made down a lot. How many times have you made up?
Me and you don't even agree. We don't disagree, you and I.
My politics are not to ridicule a woman who is in pornography. What our feeling is
My
that
politics are.
the social
same as I'll
conditions
ridicule him,
that
a
lead
woman has no
her to
better
pornography are what we attack. We want to expose the social conditions, the sexual abuse in childhood, which is a big factor,
We don't
that
do
conditions
those.
women to be in prostitution.
You always pick on animals and kids, and we don't do that.
Well, let me hear what Al, you wanted to
We
say
don't
something.
do Western Am.
Let
I
Alan
don't do
hear.
Two
kids.
fast things.
Al, go ahead.
Two quick things on the mafia. The mafia is in porn, but the mafia is in everything. Number two,
Did
Part
you
two.
understand that, sweetheart?
Okay. Part two.
Wonderful.
Okay. Mort, a lot of the women against pornography are lesbians, bull-dyke lesbians who are jealous and envious of males. They have penis envy, and so they see heterosexuality as competition for their lesbian proclivities. What the part that I think you and Mort, you and this woman should think about is you presume to tell even those people who choose to be in porno films, like Crystal Lane, that you know what's best for them. That is presumptuous.
If I presume to tell anyone anything else,
Here's a woman who
I
does
presume to tell Mr. Mouth exactly what is on my mind.
It's
all
an
right?
empty mind.
I'm letting
There's nothing
you
in
tell
it.
everyone
There's
what's
nothing
on
in it.
your mind.
Mort,
all
there's
right?
nothing in it. It's
Ron
empty.
can tell. She can tell. We're all free to tell. Excuse me, let me ask you a straight question, Norma. Are you a bull dyke?
Any woman that cares about changing the reality for women is always accused of being a lesbian. You see, because that's interesting. That's the opposite of being a pornographer. Pornographers are pimps. They buy and sell women for money.
They're the same as slave traders 100 years ago.
That's what pornographers
Same
are.
as slave traders. all right? Have you ever had... Let me ask...
Going by your guidelines, you wouldn't find any of my films offensive. I've been in 500 films as an actor. I never no subjugation against women, none towards men. Well, you have no S&M in my films, no ropes, tying up, beatings. So what have you got against my movies if you saw any?
The right wing describes pornography as offensive. Feminists describe pornography as damaging and injurious to our civil status at a minimum. On the other end of the continuum, pornography is the theory and rape is the practice.
Wait a second.
You just said yourself, if people are shown lovingly on screen having an act of sex, and it's hardcore, and it's done in a loving way, they're playing husband and wife, they're playing boyfriend, girlfriend,
You're putting
like
words
Candido
in my
Reals
mouth. I
movies.
never said
Do you
that.
object to that?
Let me give you a little. Let me
Wait,
give you
do you
another
object to
statement.
that?
All right, you can condemn the Meese report all you want. Anyone who wants to condemn the Meese report is welcome to do that. I'm sure they had more experts working on this case than Screw Magazine has,
did not.
or Ron Jeremy. In recent years, far more violent and explicit films have flooded the market, and this has been accompanied by a commensurate increase in the number of rapes and crimes. That's from page 324. It wasn't written by one person, Al.
Let's talk about the Meese Commission. The Meese Commission, Edwin Meese, who might be indicted, the grand jury's looking at him. This is Mr. Law and Order. Edwin Meese wrote to 7-Eleven stores telling them that they might be carrying pornography if they carry Playboy and Penthouse. If the Meese Commission thought that Playboy and Penthouse is pornographic, what credibility do they have?
As a matter of fact,
Even
the
to
Meese
you.
Commission did not come out and say that Playboy and
They
Penthouse
wrote
were
letters to the
pornographic.
7-Eleven shops, and Playboy and
I'm
Penthouse
fully
has sued
aware
them.
of that.
You must know
I'm
that.
fully aware of that because I was with the lobby that lobbied to get that done, pal.
Well, you should be ashamed of
We'll be
yourself.
back in a second. We'll give our audience a chance to get involved. Stand by. Welcome back. Welcome back. I'd like to introduce you to a gentleman who served on the Meese Commission. He's coming to us by telephone this evening. His name is Bruce Taylor. Bruce, are you with us?
I'm here.
How are you, pal?
Oh, I'm good, thanks.
Nice to have you on the show with us. Let me ask you, what is the best way? You've heard the show so far. You've been on the phone, right?
Oh, yes.
Are we on the right track, or is pornography just like Mary had a little lamb, she also had a bear, huh?
Well,
Everyone saw Mary's
as
lamb,
you
no
know,
one saw a bear.
all hardcore pornography is and can be found obscene, just like Deep Throat's been found obscene. A lot of Ron Jeremy's movies have been found obscene. Screw Magazine, Hustler, Penthouse. But what you have here is a bunch of people who make their living committing acts of prostitution in front of cameras, which is a felony under California and New York law. And what Ron Jeremy did to Tracy Lords is a felony under California law. So they're the ones that are committing illegal acts, and what they're trying to do now is to make us think that it's just okay to do that. But I think that now with the increase in law enforcement, we're going to see a lot of their profit motive being taken away.
There's been some areas.
Bruce, Al Goldstein, Screwman, I dare you to get me. I beat you in a federal trial 11 years ago. I'll beat you again. I'm at 116 West 14th Street. Bruce, come get me. Let's have a high noon shootout. You are also a paid spokesperson for the Catholic League of Decency. Aren't you a hired mouthpiece, Bruce? I've debated you, and I know you're full of crap.
Bruce, let me ask you, pal. Let me ask you, Bruce. You heard the accusation made by Scum Lips. Are you gonna sit back there and take that? Huh?
Bruce, can we
Well, let Bruce respond first.
First of all, I told you were going to have trouble with Goldstein, but
Like you, Bruce, like you.
Let him answer.
second of all, I was a prosecutor in Cleveland. We got convictions against Screw Magazine. They were upheld by the Ohio Supreme Court, so he's the one that's full of crap.
Morton. Ron wants to say something.
Bruce, can you hear me?
It's Ron Jeremy talking to you now,
If
Bruce.
the people in the
From
business,
his mouth.
if the girls and guys in the business, ooh, so brutal. If the guys and the girls in the business are prostitutes, and the people that hire them are panders and pimps, wouldn't it make anybody who buys or rents a videotape a John? Because they pay my salary. People in the audience who buy and rent
Funny you
videotapes
mention that.
pay
That's
me.
why I usually
They
watch
pay
them
her.
in the John.
That's possible. So, do you want to tell 50 million people voted for Ronald Reagan, 53 million people bought or rent videotapes in 1984? You're going to tell these people what they can and cannot do in their own bedroom?
First of all, 53 million people, that's a number that John Boy Weston came up with. And second of all, every time someone buys or rents hardcore pornography, yes, they are contributing to an illegal industry. They're putting money into the pockets of organized crime, and they're contributing to a lot of sex crimes in this country. And Ron Jeremy, you should go to jail just for all the things that you've helped make worse in this country, and I don't think you should be so proud of yourself.
Would you have the same attitude? I'm going to ask you the same question that Miss Ramos did not answer. If you saw a couple depicting sex, they're playing a husband and wife on screen, doing it lovingly, pleasantly, with no ill effects, no whips, chains, no tie-ups, no ropes, just a nice, a Candido Royale type phone, for instance.
You're talking about a married couple now, right?
A married couple on screen, having a sex scene on camera.
Then let me tell you something.
And a videotape.
The husband have no respect for his wife that he wants everyone else to see her. He has no respect for his wife. He is as low-down scum as you are for screwing that young girl. I want to go to the audience. I want some of our audience to participate. You young man.
I'd like to say I think pornography, just like narcotics, is the main source of violent crime today in the country and should be done away with as soon as possible. And I think the quicker we stop supporting guys like this guy over here, then the sooner we could get rid of it altogether.
That's why I'm so damn sure. Let me tell you something. They can rant and rave at the audience that we have in this show all they want, in the newspapers all over this country. We got young America that's going to shift this kind of garbage out of this country real soon. Young lady, you come up here. Let this young lady speak.
I don't think pornography describes a woman as a lady. I think it's disgusting. I think it's degrading. I think
Don't
that...
watch it.
That's your problem.
Don't watch it. If you like it, get out of the theater.
It shouldn't be publicized. It shouldn't even exist.
And you know what?
You're telling them they can't watch it in their own privacy? They can't watch it? They're over 18? Don't watch it.
Wait a second. The rocket scientist wants to talk.
Besides doing pornography, I work in theaters, I strip, okay, burlesque, and I've seen men in the audience masturbating, picking up magazines, looking at me, watching me, and
Is that the norm? Is that the norm?
I see them in church. Sunday, I see them in church.
Masturbating, dear?
You go to church? The same people, just like you.
Ma'am.
Listen, there's hypocrites on both sides.
That's right,
You're not the only
Ma'am,
one.
if you want to laugh, you can watch Monty Python. Ma'am, if you want to
Oh, you're in church looking at us? Young man, go ahead. Well, let this young man.
This is exactly... This is what pornography does. It makes men ridicule women.
That's
You
right.
want to get...
What's happening to that woman on that stage. She's being ridiculed. That's what pornography
She's
does.
asking for the ridicule, though,
No, she's not.
Norma.
You're blaming the
She
victim.
says she enjoys doing what she does.
You are blaming
At what
the
point,
victim.
at what, I'm ridiculing him. Why shouldn't she be ridiculed as
Because
equally?
even in the pornography industry, even though he's saying he makes pornography, they are not treated the same. She's being ridiculed. Nobody else on that stage
Are
is
you
being
being ridiculed?
I don't feel that I am. I'm
She
expressing
doesn't think
my
she's being
opinion.
ridiculed. She's not too heavy. Go ahead. Wait, listen. Let this young man speak. Norma, let this young man speak. Go ahead. Let me hear you.
Today, we're never going to stop pornography, but we, you know, at least they could help. You know, I mean, there's all kinds of diseases out there. Ron, are you scared to get AIDS, herpes, gonorrhea? There's a lot of diseases out there. Ron.
Those are your friends over there. Look, all of us are tested. Most of the guys are tested.
Most
We
of the
ejaculate
guys?
outside the body. Dr. Sonnabend and Dr. Gallo, leading experts on AIDS, said that it's majority transmitted not through heterosexual contact. That
Not
it's very
through
hard-
what?
Heterosexual contact.
Oh,
It's hard
through
for a man
heterosexual
to get AIDS from a woman. It's virtually impossible. That's from Gallo and Sonnabend. That's what,
Well, I'd suggest that Gallo
And
get his
Sonnabend.
studies up to date, all right? His studies are not up to date. Next, we're going to let the church respond. This ought to raise hell with all of our church-going lovelies here. And Morton Downey Jr. Show. Stand by. Welcome back, my friends. We're going to go from legality to morality here, all right? And far be it from me to tell you what you should do or what you shouldn't do. I don't pretend to be anyone like that, all right? You've all got very intelligent brains. You'll make up your own mind. You don't need the government telling you. You don't need Al Goldstein. You don't need Mort Downey. You're a hell of a lot smarter than all of us, all right? Let's go and find out something about the morality and legality here. Let's go to Reverend Tarsitano. Reverend, you're with the moral majority, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Does
Also with
does
active American Coalition for Traditional Values.
all right. Does the church have a role in wiping out pornography?
I think definitely. I think that the church is not doing near the job that it ought to be doing. There are people that are certainly active and people that are trying to accomplish things to stand against pornography, but I really, and this is hard for me to say because I'm a pastor, I'm a minister, but I think that the church really needs to do a lot more and really wake up.
What do they need to do?
The scripture says, one, we should be the salt of the earth. We're to be a preservative. We're to stand against these things. We're to make our voice heard when these things are. Television is absolutely horrible with the material that is on there. And we had one gentleman just this week wrote in about something that was going on TV, and he says, "You're just about the only voice I heard, and so we're not going to listen too much." I don't know how much they got, but we need to be together and really make our voice heard and show
Reverend
that we want to
Vickery,
stand
what
against
is the church doing?
Well, I agree.
What
The
should
church-
it do?
The church is doing very little. And the reason we're in the shape we are today morally is because of the fact that the church has forgotten its mandate. And we have, I think I would say it this way. If this country had been established by people who are seeking for moral freedom where they could exploit women, exploit their own personal lust and desires, and live that kind of life, I'd hate to think where we'd be today. Well, we wouldn't be here today. But I'll tell you, if we don't turn our direction and repent and go back to the beginning where we did with a faith in God, believing in moral standards, absolutes, that there is a
Doesn't it all boil down to a one word, respect? Respecting women, respecting men, respecting what the hell God gave us.
Respect ourselves. If we don't respect...
Some woman, Al, zip it, pal. Zip it, Al. Al, zip it. I'll ask the question. Sit back a second. Sit back a second. I'll ask the questions, all right? Some young lady here, some young lady, Reverend, who did not get a card to come up. You didn't get a card? All right, I want you to come up. I want to ask you a question, please. Do you mind? No. All right. What is your definition of pornography?
If that's the way somebody wants to represent themselves to the public, that's fine. But if they're forced into it, I think that's terrible. And especially children.
I agree.
Okay. All right.
I agree.
Okay.
100% I agree.
What is your definition of pornography? Huh? Would you like to be tied to a bed? Huh?
Oh, here we go
would you think that that was kind of disgusting if you were? Yeah. Even if you volunteered, wouldn't you think that you had been coerced into it?
How do you have any respect for yourself?
There's the word again. There comes the word again. How do you have any respect for yourself? I'm to ask the featherweight. Go ahead.
Why don't you try a more?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Sir, if you'd like to know, I've done several movies, and I was not forced into doing pornography. I chose it.
There was nothing else you could do. You wanted to do it.
I've been tied up in, humiliated, as you so say. I've never been beaten. I'm not into that. I'm not into children being used in pornography at all. I'm 28 years old, and I agree with a lot of things she says, and the majority of people in the pornography business agree that they shouldn't be there. Their children shouldn't be there, and there should not be.
Are you doing something in the pornography business to weed out these people who are using children? Al, you have a great influence in this business. What are you doing? Where are you putting your money? Oh, I got to finish the question, pal. Get up to the microphone. You don't have a mic.
Okay. Where I am is a newspaper. It's sold to people over 18. Now, without the giggling, no one in Screw is under 18. There's been one instance, as Ron said. The issue again and again is you keep bringing in children because you're really against, as these religious people are, you're against consenting adults looking at pornography. They're against abortion. They're against homosexuality. You're against dancing. You want to bring us back to the world of the PTO.
I'm not against dancing, pal, but I don't want to dance close to you.
No.
We'll be back with a final word on porno. Stay with us.
Limousine service for the guests provided by Garden State Limousine. Our prices put you in the driver's seat. Call tonight in New Jersey 997-LIMO.
I want to get back to the Reverend.
I wanted to hit one more point with this because we've really emphasized tonight how pornography and how it deals and affects with women, and I'm not arguing or disagreeing with that at all. But I personally deal with, as counseling as a pastor, that new husbands come in and speak to me and find that they cannot have a normal relationship with their wife who they love now,
because
and invariably every time they've had pornography.
Yeah.
They cannot relate.
Remaining on it, Los Angeles Lakers.
Pornography, it affects the men, it affects the women, it affects the families.
I've heard those stories before, Reverend. This young lady has a question. This young lady has a question. All right?
Let me ask you something. If you ever should get married one day and you should have children, do you expect your children to look up to you and say, my mother's a prostitute?
I don't intend to, ma'am.
Don't intend to get married?
Maybe you don't contend to because maybe no one ever will because you have no respect for yourself.
You ever gotten pregnant from your films? Have you ever gotten pregnant in one of your films?
No, I have not. And you are not here to look into the future for me, okay?
I'm not looking into your future, but I'm saying you have no respect for yourself. You could degrade
That's your
yourself,
opinion.
and you're degrading women in society.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me just tell you once and for all, in my opinion, pornography is not art, all right? It's not entertainment. Let's not kid anyone. I mean, you open the window, this little thing's going to go up. All right? Pornography and pornographers are scum. Good night, Al. Good. You all shake hands.
As a player is 32-year-old Paul Stewart, but he's a player.